We were just attacked. One of the members of our teams, their family, had just had a brick thrown at their head. I'm going to give you the details of that here in a moment. But first, we're going to dive into what I believe is one of the most important conversations we've had here on Revival Nation. And I was educated. You got to understand, when we're dealing with the biggest threat to Western civilization, to America, we're dealing with the threat of radical Islam. And in that regard, I've had quite a bit of experience in that area, smuggling Bibles into the Muslim world, establishing churches there. But in this conversation, I've heard things I never heard before, I never knew up until this moment. And it's going to bring so much illumination, so much help to you. And you're going to really enjoy this. But before we dive into any of that, and I give you the update from our team member and their family, let us know where you're watching from. And Evan's going to be watching you in the comments. Reading your comments, reading your questions.
Donna Shaw, the first person to comment today, she said, sweet. We got Maria from Kansas. Let's see. We got Tony from Kodak, Tennessee. KN, blessings from Jonesville, North Carolina, not too far away. Hi, Mom's watching from Hong Kong. Great to have you. Not often that we get to see China in the chat. Very cool. Sharon watching from California. Joe watching. Hey, good to see you on the live stream this morning, Joe. You know what I'm talking about. We were watching a live stream together. That was fun. CN from Nigeria. We've got Marsha from Utah. Martin says, what's left of Minnesota?
Yeah.
It's good to see you. And Deborah watching from England. People watching all over the world. Preacher Vicky, good to see you. Catherine, the names keep coming in. Let us know where you're watching from. And if you have a question, put 4 question marks before your comment.
Yeah, we are not talking about 100 years from now, this being a threat. We're talking about an imminent threat to Western civilization, to the United States of America. Now, I remember, I suppose it was back in 2006, when I was speaking with an individual who their entire job was going into war zones and ministering to Christians. And I wanted to help. And they were heading into a Muslim nation called Pakistan. And I said, how much is it to go? And I was thinking, airlines, airfare, hotel, all that stuff. And he looked me in the eyes and says, it'll cost you having to kiss your wife and children goodbye, knowing you may never see them again. And immediately I felt the call of the Holy Spirit to go into all the world and preach the gospel. I felt that great commission rise up on the inside of me and said, well, I'm going to go. And I remember going, and I connected with some amazing people there on the ground. I spent more than a month there. I think it was my first trip, the same for my second. And during that time, we've now established hundreds of churches since that time, a school with hundreds of children. And we have a staff person actually helps run some of our social media here. Evan, you work with her on a very regular basis. She's still there in Pakistan. Huh?
She's amazing.
She is amazing. She's brilliant. She's there in Pakistan. I've known her since she was a little girl, and we've taken her on staff, and she works with our team every single day from right there where she is remotely in Pakistan. And her family was just attacked, bricks thrown at their house. I'm going to give you an update on that here in a minute. But the work that we've done there is entirely because of your partnership, and we don't actually talk about it as often as we should, as often as we have reports, as often as we do events and outreaches. We don't say much about it. But your support every single month helps us do the work there, as well as the work we do all over the world. But there's something very special for us and the people that we know. That I've stayed in their house, they've stayed in my house. These are people that we know, that we love. And if you are not already partnering with us, we've just developed a brand new partner program to sow into you, to be a blessing to you. If you go to revivalnation.com right now, revivalnation.com, and you go to the homepage, when you get to the homepage of revivalnation.com, you'll see partner with us. There it is right there. Partner with us in Revival, and click on that, Evan, and people can join in wherever they are. It's about you basically obeying the Holy Spirit, whatever He tells you to do. And you're going to get all kinds of uncensored content, a lot of downloads and stuff from our sermons and services. And everybody gets the same thing. Every tier, everybody gets the same thing, but we want you to be able to join with us wherever you are in your life. So if you'd like to stand in faith with us and get access plus to our e-courses, all of our e-courses that we've done through the ministry here that don't deal with media and that kind of thing are free to you. Hundreds of dollars worth of value. We just want to pour into you, be a blessing to you. RevivalNation.com, partner with us in Revival. Your monthly support helps us minister. And I'm going to give you an idea and an update what's going on. She had to be taken to the hospital. This is just really shaking us. It's not the first time we've dealt with persecution there. I've stared down the barrel of a gun in the nation of Pakistan and had some pretty hairy situations that I've been involved in. But it's never easy, and we're never distant from it. You know how you just see videos and you think, oh, isn't that terrible? But when it's your family, when it's your friends, when it's people you know, people you love, people you work with, well, Revival Nation, this is our family. These are the people we know, love, work with on a daily basis. I want to give you an update on that. But with all the time that I've spent in the Muslim world, ministering and working with amazing people, I've never met someone as knowledgeable as our guests on this program. We met them at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, and I was able to sit down with Bill Federer and Michael Federer, Michael's his son, to talk about Islam and the threat of radical Islam to Western civilization. And the things you're going to hear, this interview is just a few moments. We're going to watch this together live. If you have questions, let us know in the comments. So, Evan, how do they let you know in the comments that they have a question?
Yeah, just type your 4 question marks before your comment in the chat. By the way, it's good to see Martin's. Martin said, my screen picture was changed from a flag and cross to whatever's on right now. Welcome to Revival Nation. It's good to have you with us.
Yeah, it's time for us to rise up and know the times and the seasons and what we ought to do. And that's what this next 15 minutes is going to help you to do. So lock in here with me. If you haven't already, share. Sharing is absolutely free. It costs you nothing. Go ahead and hit that share button. And I want you to take a listen to this interview. We're watching this together. I'll be back in just a minute. What are the biggest threats to America right now, without and within? We have guests with us that are going to help us walk through this in a way I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it the way we have. The author of the amazing book, What Every American Needs to Know About the Quran, A History of Islam and the United States, and Socialism, the Real History from Plato to Present. How the deep state capitalizes on crisis to consolidate control. Bill Federer, it's so good to have you on the program.
Hey, great to be with you.
And who do we have here joining with us?
It's Michael. Well,
Michael,
it's great
your
to
son.
be with you. I've worked behind the scenes with my father for years. I joke it's been somewhere between 3 and 30, but more recently we've been speaking together, writing together, and together we're Team American Minute. So it's an honor to
see
be with you.
families together in ministry. You see kind of running around here, my son and my daughter. We believe in family ministry.
Amen.
But your influence and your impact. I was just on Flashpoint with Gene Bailey, and he was talking about how they finally got these books in to get to everybody. So how long did it take you to research and write this book, What Every American Needs to Know About the Quran?
Yeah, so jumping in, Keith Ellison swore into Congress with his hand up on a Quran. It happened to be Jefferson's Quran, and the media said, "Isn't this wonderful? Jefferson must have loved Islam." And I'm like, "Duh! He fought the Barbary pirate wars against the Muslims," and so I began researching, came out with a book in 2007, and then we've redone it, and now it's just taken off. So it goes back to pre-Muhammad, and in Arabia,
Yes.
you had 360 different pagan gods. The most popular was Hubal, the moon god.
Yes.
And their calendar began with the first sight of the crescent moon over the desert. And so he incorporates that into his religion. And then Zoroastrians, Persians, they believed that paradise was filled full of virgins that would fulfill all the guy's desires. That got incorporated in his belief system. Originally, he had his followers bowing toward Jerusalem until the Jews rejected him. And then even Encyclopedia Britannica says the gospel was made known to Muhammad through apocryphal and heretical sources. So he thought the Trinity was the Father, Mary, and Jesus. He's illiterate. He can never read and write. He goes into Mecca in 710 AD and thinks there's something in his faith for everybody and nobody likes it, and so they chase him out of town. He goes north to a Jewish city called Medina, 3 Jewish clans. They're nice and tolerant. They let him in. He gets offended at one of the Jewish clans, confiscates their property, chases them out of town, gets offended at the second one, chases them out. Third one, he chops off their heads. So within 5 years of Muhammad coming into the Jewish city of Medina, there's not a Jew left in the city of Medina. They were chased out, killed, or enslaved. And so it's a 3-step process. He immigrates, increases, and eliminates.
So are we seeing that pattern right now in the United States?
Absolutely, yes. So my father points out that it's much more than just a religious system. It's religious, political, and military. Now, when you read the book, you find that there are, techniques and tactics that allow them to
Deceive?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Taqiyya, dawah. But what we're realizing is 2026, this is going to come to a head. Is the West compatible with this ideology that's also a political and military system? Now, you'll notice that, if someone is in trouble with the law, they go through the court system. If Sharia law is implemented, that immediately supersedes our law. So we have to ask, is this compatible? And I'll wait to dig into this topic here. We've got more meat left on
It's
this
a strange partnership, actually.
It's called the Red Green Alliance.
Yes, between
Communists
Islam
and Islam.
and yes.
And they'll
so
use
maybe
each
talk
other.
about that alliance.
Yeah.
Well, I always say, does the country seem a little divided to you? So, a lot of people think this is organic. This is just a natural division. But through the lens of history and a little bit of psychology, you understand that this is a lot more manufactured than people would think. So just to go back to, let's say, World War II. United States wins a war on two fronts. We are a battlefield superpower. Enemies of the United States say, if you're going to fight the United States, don't do it on the battlefield. No, rot that apple from the inside. This is what Antonio Gramsci would call the long march through the institutions. So fast forward to 1984, you've got a KGB defector, Yuri Bezmenov.
Yes, I've seen his videos.
The popular interview with G. Edward Griffins, but he lays out the 4 steps: demoralize, destabilize, crisis, normalization. To boil it down, it's find groups that you can pit against each other. Doesn't matter if it's black and white, rich versus poor, Christian versus non-Christian. They want to create fractures in our country. So we're seeing that, and with a weakened country, it makes us even more of a target for these ideologies that would like to, ultimately kind of change the way of the West.
And you look at civilization like Europe, it went drive, neutral, reverse. It went from a Judeo-Christian past with 1,000 years of Catholic cathedrals, and Protestant Reformation and Jewish neighborhoods, to a secular Europe with the French Revolution, free sex, anything goes, sort of John Lennon song, Imagine There's No Heaven. And now it's turning into an Islamic Europe with Muhammad being the #1 name for newborns. And they come in and they have 4 wives, and wives go down to the welfare office and say the husband's not around, and they get checks. And the man visits his wives, and the more kids they have, the larger the checks get. He's living like a prince with his harem.
Yeah.
And so just population-wise, they'll have the majority by 2050. But this process, Mondami in New York gave a speech, and he says, my religion started with Muhammad being an immigrant into Medina. And he sort of stopped short of saying, yeah, and within 5 years, there wasn't a Jew left in the city. So it's where you have domestic species and invasive species ideologically. Christianity is more domestic, love your enemies. Right?
Yeah.
Turn the other cheek. And in Islam has a 1,400-year track record. So Egypt used to be Christian for 6 centuries. That's longer than America's been around. It was evangelized by Mark that wrote the gospel until Amir ibn al-As invades, and you have a Sultan al-Hakim, like Hakim Jeffries. Hakim's a Muslim name. He cut out the tongues of anybody caught speaking Coptic and brought in Arabic. And then there used to be 250 Catholic dioceses along North Africa, and the Christians had taught themselves not to fight. It was their version of separation of church and state, right? We're not going to get involved with this. We're going to live in a cave and have our own personal relationship with Jesus. And so in 10 years, the Muslims conquered all of North Africa. And then they conquered Syria. People forget Syria was Christian for 6 centuries. The name Christian was first used in Syria. The Apostle Paul evangelized until Caliph Umar conquers it. Then they conquer Spain, held it for 700 years, and they're stopped outside of Paris at the Battle of Tours in 732 AD, just 100 years after the death of Muhammad in 632 AD. So we look back to the first century of Christianity as like the ideal model. The fundamental Muslims look back to the first century of Islam as the ideal model, and it was one where you immigrate, infiltrate, right, and then eliminate.
And even with that, people watching this think, well, that's never going to happen here in America. They'll try to do that, but it's not. And they don't realize it's going to happen inch by inch, pinch by pinch, and then all of a sudden, this slow march through the institutions, as you said, the slow march through the institutions, which doesn't start with Sharia law on every corner. It starts with something else.
Yeah.
Which we talk about this weird partnership between socialism.
Yeah.
How is it that socialists can partner with Islam, and that Islam, we know that Islam, they're allowed to lie and deceive to get power, but why would socialists, you see like the LGBTQ for Palestine?
I think whenever you realize that anyone who wants to, whether they realize it or not, put the state on top, the necessary step is to push God out. So imagine a pyramid in your mind, whatever, Jesus is at the top, God is at the top, whatever's second most important. If God is removed, that's going to be elevated to the most important thing. So anytime we go from this one, we go from ancient history all the way up to the 2000s. You see that there is no fertile soil for this ideology. It doesn't matter when in history, it doesn't matter where on the globe. You see that there's common factors, and one is always pushing out religion so the state can become the ultimate authority. And I just want to mention, when we talk about Islam, for us, world peace is recognizing our differences and deciding, let's get along, let's focus on our commonalities, and if the differences aren't glaring, let's ignore them while we can. World peace in Islam is when everyone submits to Allah, meaning there's no one else to battle. We've all been converted. So it's a difference in language. It's a difference in the definition of world peace.
So we push out God, and when we do that, there's no unifying moral ethic any longer. And then we become divisive, we become weak, and then Islam comes in and takes advantage of that.
Yeah, and when you analyze the 3 Jewish clans in Medina did not get along. And when Muhammad picked on the first one, the other 2 didn't like, and they chased him out. And then there's 2 Jewish clans, and he picks on the smaller of the 2, and the big clan, well, they were always competition for me. It's like a pinball. You bounce off of one side, they'll use one party, then they'll use another party, then they'll use another party. And so, you zero in on Egypt, there were Coptic Christians, and the Coptic is the Egyptian word for Egyptian, were being persecuted by the Byzantine Christians. And when Amir ibn al-As and the Muslims come to the border, they say, we'll help you Coptics drive out the Byzantines. Not realizing that once they did, they oppressed and took over, right?
Gosh.
And then the Turks convert to Islam, and they conquered into what is today Turkey. And so all 7 churches mentioned in the book of Revelation were conquered, and the Greek Christians begged the Catholic West for help. They send help. It's called the Crusades. When the Crusades end, they conquered Constantinople in 1453, ending the land routes to India, and that's why Columbus set sail in 1492, looking for a sea route. Columbus would have never set sail had it not been for Islamic Jihad cutting off the land routes.
That's exactly right.
Now, Michael was talking about the word Islam means submission to the will of Allah. The Muslim is one who has submitted, and they think there will be world peace when the whole world has submitted. So to them, world peace means world Islam. Now, moderate Muslims believe the world will submit to Allah later, maybe in the distant future, maybe at the end of the world, maybe it's even figurative, and since it's so far off, they really don't think about it, and they just want to live their lives. And they want to be friends with you, and they want to live under the umbrella of the freedoms of the West, and they're happy to do that. The problem is when the violent ones do a terrorist attack and the non-Muslim world doesn't come down hard on them and shows weakness, the moderate ones are now put in a pinch where they feel like, I guess I got to side. So the fundamental ones are just as happy to kill a moderate Muslim as they are to kill an infidel.
Yeah.
And people say, well, why don't the moderate ones stand up? It's like if a drug gang's moving into your neighborhood and you call the police and they arrest the drug gang, are you going to call the police again? Yeah. But if they don't show up, worse yet, somebody from the gang comes to your door and says, we have a snitch inside the police department.
Yes.
They said, if you call them again, we'll kill you.
Yeah.
Are you going to call the police anymore?
Right.
And so if the moderate Muslim says, hey, there's this terrorist attack and the West comes down, boom, they're like, okay, we're happy to lean toward the West. But when the West doesn't, worse yet, we have Biden giving $85 billion to the Muslims, and Obama was like allowing Iran to sell their oil and make billions. And they see, during the Jimmy Carter pulls the rug out from the Shah. The Shah of Iran loved America. For 37 years, he's meeting with Eisenhower, Truman, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford. They're building the Cadillac Seville over in Iran. I mean, he loved America until Jimmy Carter pulled the rug out from the Shah and ushered in Ayatollah Khomeini. So whenever you see the Iranians killing people and Ayatollah do it, helping Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, thank Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. We've never seen such an existential threat to Western civilization, to Western Christianity, than we see that you clearly lay out in these books. And this is why the church has got to stop dividing.
Yes.
Got to stop bickering and fighting amongst ourselves. There are bigger threats at play than the different secondary doctrinal issues we have with one another. And so that's why I want to encourage everybody to get these books. Where can they connect with you, and where can they get these books?
Thank you so much. AmericanMinute.com. You'll find the books we spoke about here, as well as about 28 other titles and content from my father and myself. You hit on one of my favorite things, convergence. We all have differences, but when we focus on our commonalities, our differences then become strengths. When we come together, what makes us different becomes this comprehensive strength. We're not all the same. So thank you for saying that. We need to major on the major and minor on the minors. If time allots, I have one more connection between Islam and socialism here. Is we were speaking about Hegelian dialectics earlier. which is basically how to move from the thesis where we are to the antithesis, where you'd want to be, or the opposite. But if they did it all at once, Americans would be up in arms.
Of course.
Whoa, this isn't our
It's
ideology.
the frog in the kettle.
So it's got to be a drip in the bucket, and you don't see it filling up. But if you walk away and you come back, you say, oh boy, that filled up. I don't recognize this country anymore.
Yes.
That's what's been happening, and it is time. The 2026 is going to be a definitive year for this.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to get these resources, go to your website, because the content as well.
AmericanMinute.com.
AmericanMinute.com. The videos, the teachings are phenomenal too. So everybody go check it out. The link's in the description. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
AmericanMinute.com. Now, how many of you would agree this is the conversation that we need to be having right now? So you're going to see on Revival Nation a lot of resources, a lot of equipment, a lot of equipping, a lot of interviews along these lines to help educate you, because my people are destroyed for a lack of what? Knowledge. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So we want to make sure you have all the knowledge. Look, and you shouldn't be fearful. The only reason we get fearful about anything is because we have more information about the situation than we do about what God says about the situation and the God of the situation. So that's why you've got to watch programs like this to feed your faith and starve your doubts to death. What are folks saying in the comments, Evan, as we talk about this sensitive subject?
Yeah, let's see. Famous James said we need to wake up, not woke up. Totally. Yeah. Christy says, hello from Florida. Good to see you. Charles, blessings from Cleburne, Texas. We got a question. Sylvia said, is anyone educating these huge mega churches, I assume, on this topic of Islam and everything? If they've tried, how was it received? It worries me because my daughter and grandson are very attached to one of these.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Mega churches got that way many times for a reason. Now, there are some mega churches who got that way for being unapologetic, for being bold, and that's how they got there. Others got there because they were very sensitive to dance around these issues as not to offend anyone. And now, because they had to do that to get there, they have to keep doing that to stay there. And that is the concern. Certainly not every mega church, but if your church is not speaking to these issues at all and is refusing to, not simply because of time, not simply because they're doing many important things in the earth, but they just seem to avoid all of the controversial issues, then you just may need to prayerfully consider finding another location, finding another church. I know it's difficult. One of the most difficult things you'll do is finding the right church. Not the church that makes you comfortable, not the church that entertains you, not the church that has the best children's ministry or the best praise and worship or even the best leadership structure, but what's the family that God has called you to? And once you find that family, nail your feet to the floor and put your shoulder to the plow and get to work. And that's why we're thankful for everybody who partners with this ministry, because we do more than most mega churches, more than many mega ministries.
Yeah.
And it's because we just have crazy partners who stand in faith with us, who partner with us for all the stuff that we do. Whether it's the work we do in Israel or the work we do in Pakistan. Evan?
Along those lines, do you think people today are thinking they're called to certain personalities when in actuality they're supposed to be called to the body, not to a personality?
Yeah, well, I think you just said it. We get fascinated by an entertainer that tickles our ears. And because it creates motivation, we think that's inspiration. And we go to that church. No. We've got to get alone before God and let Him guide us and lead us and see where He wants us to be fed and to feed. Where He wants us to be a part, not just a receiver, but someone who's actively involved in the local church. And there's a lot of wonderful churches popping up now, a lot of great ministries. So find them. A church alive is worth the drive. Come on out to Charlotte. This Saturday, we're going to have the machine gun preacher with us in the house. We're going to have Sam Childers, the machine gun preacher. There he is right there. He's going to be with us in Charlotte, North Carolina at Revival Nation Church. That's going to be uncensored. I promise you that right now, especially in regard to this subject.
Oh, man.
Yeah, for sure. What else we got?
He's seen firsthand what Islam can do in third world nations, let alone in America. But anyway, Preacher Vicky said, does Brother Federer's book teach believers how to pray for or reach Islamists or Muslims? And I think the more you know about someone and what they believe, it's going to be easier for you to.
It's going to be one of the best tools that you have to do that. Now, you get the information, but again, you heard in there, they're allowed to lie about what they believe when they get in a discussion or argument with you. So trying to pin somebody down intellectually who's willing to lie, it's like working with the far left. It's just not, it's not going to be productive. However, words are seeds, and the word of the Lord will have free course, will be unobstructed as you minister it, especially as you minister with revelation, with knowledge. And so you let the love of God shine through you. And then you let the power of God flow through you, signs and wonders. And as God speaks to men's hearts through you, that'll be what makes the impact. It's what's on the words you say, not necessarily the actual words that you say, though both certainly matter. And we've had personal experiences. I said at the beginning of this program, in the Muslim world, I was smuggling Bibles into Pakistan decades ago. Now I just use UPS, but especially with digital Bibles, it's easier. Also, one of the things that we do is we send in audio Bibles in their language because the illiteracy rate in Pakistan is out of this world. So for people who are working in brick factories, who are in slavery, we will send them these little things they can put in the earbuds while they're working, and they can hear the Gospel of John in their language. That's what your partnership helps us to do, as well as with the medical supplies, the schools that we have there. And so we have this. We have the schools. We have these churches. And as some of our team was out ministering in the villages, their home was personally attacked by a bunch of radical Muslim extremists throwing bricks at the home. And as one lady was fleeing, who's a family member of one of our staff, she was fleeing. She got hit in the head with a brick, and thankfully they went to the hospital. They were able to stitch it up, but certainly the family's shaken. And I notified our online family here, I think it was yesterday, about what happened. And I just want to bless them. I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and I want to bless the church in Pakistan, these Christians in Pakistan, especially when they've been attacked like this. I want to certainly pay for their medical bills. I want to take care of whatever damages have been done to their home. But then I want to show the devil, you mess with one of God's kids, now we're just going to pour blessing on top of blessing on top of blessing. And if you would like to partner with us to do that, you can go to revivalnation.com and click the Give button, and you can give a one-time gift, or you can partner with us in Revival and do monthly support that helps us do these things. We do a variety of things through revivalnation.com to help us support the persecuted church around the world. One of them is Encounter Coffee, Evan. It's been a while since we've mentioned Encounter Coffee online, but we had Jessica Schluter. She took back from Fresh Start Church her coffee, and her husband just fell in love with.
Yeah.
I think it was the Wigglesworth blend. But that's just a way whenever you buy our coffee, instead of getting it from Dunkin' or for Starbucks, get it from us. And when you get it from us, then you're helping us support the persecuted church around the world. There it is right there. Encounter Coffee. What's that blend that
There's the Darby blend right there.
The Darby blend. That's fun. So on the front of every bag, it's dedicated to someone, like William Seymour for Azusa Street Mornings, or John Nelson Darby. And on the back, there's
Calvin.
information about that individual. And then there's the Calvin blend.
Decaf, of course.
Decaf. That is my favorite because I don't need any more caffeine in my life. But decaf, it's the most delicious coffee you've ever had in your life. Get a bag of it today, whole bean or ground. We call it decaf because it has a form of godliness, but it denies the power thereof. But that's the work that we do, and we don't talk about it as much as we should, but we want you to know that we need your help to do it, to continue to do it. 700 kids in one school we have in Pakistan right now. And we got to take care of them. We got to bless them. Not just them, they're teachers. We pay their salaries. And we need your help to do that. So just go to revivalnation.com and give in obedience to the Holy Spirit. If it's a one-time gift or a reoccurring monthly gift by partnering with us in Revival, do that, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. Let us know you're standing with us. Let's show them just an overflow of support from their brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Thank you guys for partnering with us, and stay tuned. A lot more revelation coming on this subject matter. It's going to be bold, uncensored, unafraid. We'll see you Saturday night, 6 p.m. at Revival Nation Church. God bless.